Alright, so our quest to review every MCU film brings us to its second installment, The Incredible Hulk, and also the first one that had people realizing, wow, it is possible to make a bad Marvel movie. The Incredible Hulk. So The Incredible Hulk, for some reason, decided to be set in a version of the Marvel Universe where Bruce Banner has already become the Hulk, and it happened 5 years ago. Probably a mistake considering the fact that this movie came out 5 years after the previous Hulk film that people also didn't think was all that good. So they thought that we had a sequel to a film that they didn't like, so they decided to completely neglect this one. And in this movie we have a new actor playing Bruce Banner, Edward Norton. And on Edward Norton's performance, I think he could have been good, but he was just a little bit too Edward Norton-y. You know, he was snarky and snide the entire time. You know, he's like, oh, I'm being sarcastic in a kind of arrogant and narcissistic way. Don't you like that? And it's like, I don't know if I want Bruce Banner to be like that, but then again, I'm not a huge Hulk expert, so I don't really know how Bruce Banner is. For all I know, he could have been completely comic book accurate, but it just didn't work for me based on what I knew about the Hulk at the time and what I'm seeing on screen. So let's get into the plot real quick. Spoilers, sorry. He became the Hulk 5 years ago and has since moved to Brazil to try to live a normal life. Some people find out who he is and where he's hiding because some guys at the soda factory that he works at cause a ruckus, and then he gets into a fight with them. He becomes the Hulk, and it's like, oh, well, this is terrible. But General Ross finds him. Some things go one way, some go another. It turns out that they're working on a version of a super soldier serum that they can give this little soldier guy, Emil Blonsky, to make him... It's supposed to make him able to keep up with the Hulk, like compete with him physically, but it doesn't quite put him on the right level. And that leads to one of my favorite action sequences in any Marvel movie. That university fight, oh, I love that. It's a standout in a movie that's not very strong. And as it turns out, Bruce Banner's been doing cure research to get rid of his big green friend. So he meets the guy that he's been working with, and it's like, I've perfected it. I've gotten the cure. So he gives it to him, and it works. He actually transforms into the Hulk and then goes back to being Bruce Banner, and he can't Hulk out anymore. And it's great. But Emil Blonsky, he has some separate plans going on his own. He decides he's not strong enough. He wants to be the Hulk. He wants to be a Hulk, which kind of gels with what General Ross wants because he's always wanted to capture the Hulk and be able to weaponize the power that he has. So he's like, well, if I can create a Hulk and control him, then bam, I have my weapon. So Blonsky goes to Dr. Samuel Stearns, the leader, the guy that was supposed to become the leader at least, but he never really did, at least not canonically, not in the films. In the comics, I think he did in some sort of like tie-in issue. It's weird. But he goes to Samuel Stearns and he's like, hey, make me a Hulk. So he uses some Hulk blood from the whole like curing the Hulk process, and it turns him into, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty ugly and gross and disgusting, and nobody would ever want to be that. But Blonsky's loving it. He's powerful. He can finally destroy the Hulk, but the Hulk doesn't really exist. So Ross is like, all right, Banner, I know we have to put our differences aside for right now because you need to go deal with that thing. I did not want that to happen. I wanted a Hulk I could control. I can't control that thing. And then you have this really funny moment where Banner like falls backwards out of a helicopter. He's like, oh, I'm going to turn into the Hulk on the way down. But it's taking longer than he thought it would. So he's like, oh, shh. And then he falls a pretty good couple thousand feet. Then he smashes into the ground. And then you get that Hulk fist coming out of the floor that you saw in the trailers 10 years ago. And it was awesome. But that really cemented that Marvel was really going for this thing of like just have the villain be a mirror image of the hero, but evil. And for what the Hulk is, that works. Because that's kind of all his comics are, is just different versions of the Hulk. But then you get your Hulk smash, and he saves the day. He beats Abomination, and everybody goes home happy. And then you find out at the very end that he's finally gained control over his Hulk form, and that's the last we ever see of the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk. Now, if I'm going to give you my honest opinions on this movie, I think it's very slow in certain points, and it's very sloppy. It's a little bit all over the place. It never really got a chance to focus up because it has all these things going on. I think they were going for some sort of like meta layer of storytelling, and they didn't quite hit the nail on the head. They kind of missed and they bent it. Let's talk about who I loved in this movie. I loved Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky. I loved, what's his name? William Hurt as General Thunderbolt Ross. And that's pretty much it. Those two guys were exactly what you would want out of characters like that if you've ever read a Hulk comic. They're truly standouts in an otherwise very forgettable movie. In fact, this movie is so forgettable, I'm willing to bet that you won't remember it in just a couple days. But The Incredible Hulk, have you seen it? I'm pretty sure you have. Comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, especially the rest of my MCU review marathon, click right here, see more, and if you click in the middle, you'll get to subscribe and you'll see these things right when they come out.